All right, I'm going to call us to order. It is 6 o'clock. We have no citizens. So we will move on to the first agenda item. Consider approval of minutes for April 10th, 2025 and take appropriate action.
I have a misspelling.
Oh, what
It
is it?
says last name is spelled wrong.
Oh, no. How is it spelled?
Ley.
We accepted them, approved them with like an amendment
corrections.
with corrections. Okay.
Sorry, where is that correction?
Under the city representative,
City representative. EY.
should be Ley.
Which one?
Tara,
The bottom
the
one.
very bottom one.
Oh,
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as corrected.
Approved with
Second.
corrections. Okay, so we moves to approve with corrections. And Paul seconds. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Catch up to our mounds. All right. Oh, that is, I wrote on the wrong thing. I wrote on the other minute.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
All right, the trustee report?
Okay, I was just following up on some of the legislation I talked about the last time. I found a really great site that you can monitor bill
Oh,
called Legiscan. And you can search for the bills and then it sends you little messages when there's movement on the bill. So the first one was the one the first one is a new one that I didn't introduce last time. And this one affects public libraries, municipal public collection. And it's a prohibition of access to for minors to sexually explicit materials in municipal libraries. And there's a civil penalty, which would be a fine if there's an issue with that. It has not made as much progress through the legislative pending in the State Affairs Committee and has not been amended yet or anything, though it's kind of second committee. There's another one affecting public libraries that is new from last month that questions the authority of public libraries to financially support the American Library Association. And it prohibits using public funds for dues or conference attendance or any, can't use city or municipal or county or whatever funds to support that. It also has not gotten, it's in the Culture, Recreation, and Tourism Committee. And I guess we're recreation or culture. And it's also not made a ton of progress. It's still in committee. It's not been reported out. The one I talked about last time that's about public school libraries with the parental advisory council, the public advisory council thing, mostly made up of parents that review all of the materials before the board has made more progress. Engrossed means the bill's been officially updated to reflect all amendments, changes. And it's headed to it's a Senate bill, so it's headed to the House. And it's already been amended. So it's 50% through the process. And I learned the term engrossed, didn't know what that means. But anyway, that is a nice site if you're following any legislation. But those could be ones to keep an eyeball on, I think. And then I went, probably ironically, to the kind of snapshot of the state of the America's libraries from the American Library Association. And I just picked a few categories. There was a lot of information in several places. I went about AI and what's going on with AI, and I thought I'd devote my June report to all things artificial intelligence because there's a lot out there and that's moving very fast. But some of the unique things that I thought that I saw were like the larger cities are providing some mental health initiatives like addiction, AA groups, addiction recovery materials. If you were seeking a path to recovery, you could get a lot of materials there. And then they were equipping the librarians with Narcan in the inner city libraries to try to save lives by people that might overdose. And I just thought it was interesting that the response about health and mental health was ending up at the library store. Because often patrons, come to the library for shelter or security or a place to be, and then other problems are being addressed. And the other big category was one big category was about neurodivergent citizens to try to provide either more services for people with cognitive disabilities, severe cognitive disabilities, or some areas with less stimulating environments in terms of lighting and noise and overwhelming color, that kind of thing. The use of natural light, carpet for sound. And we kind of have some calm places in our library. But I thought there were this was just one example, but there were several examples of where they're becoming more sensitive to those that are neurodivergent, either with cognitive disability or somewhere on the spectrum. And then the big thing is always, just like in my last report, is access, creating access and creating more hours. And there was a lot of information, several examples, I just put two down, about the hotspot checkout going on for the Native American communities in New Mexico, use for loan on the reservations because sometimes there's spotty Wi-Fi there, and then the use of a NASA science activation program that's brings some science experiences to the schools on the reservations that they normally don't have access to, and they're going through the program. And the library, the county libraries are working with the librarians on the reservations to bridge those access issues. But again, the hotspot loaning, and one of the statistics in the report from Nationwide is that 46.9% of libraries have hotspot checkout services around the country.
We noticed that during the pandemic, we got the kids, the district rolled out devices, but they didn't have
They
the,
didn't.
and they did hotspots for the high school. But then it was like, we did the kids in elementary, it was like, I remember we're checking on the, haven't done anything, but all I have is my cell phone and all three kids are trying to use it. And I'm like, gee, that's a little hard to do. Homework is when it's only one cell phone that's available, so.
To me, it says there's obviously still a lot of issues about the infrastructure before. Yeah. And yet so many things are becoming dependent on you being able
internet.
to access the internet.
Yeah.
Even all the
Even
things
just
for
registering for
Social
school
Security,
now.
your
it's all
medical, stuff. So much you have to have access.
Heather,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt the meeting. You just had a gentleman go into the community hub and it's like completely pitch black and black and he's just,
He's getting ready for ESL.
oh, okay, sounds good. He's okay. Making sure. I'm just
You're
like,
okay.
he looks a little lost. That's why.
He should be getting ready for ESL. It's supposed to start in about 20 minutes. So
Okay, he just hasn't turned on the lights yet, so that's why I'm like
he may just there's some help.
making sure. I was like,
So that's, and then I'll do a big splash on AI next month.
Anything new on the events advisory board?
Yeah.
We have-
On the agenda.
Yeah, we
Is
have,
that right?
yeah,
Yeah,
we've
we
got
have-
an agenda, that'll be an agenda
Share
item
our
going forward.
homework.
I saw that PBS is doing a thing, or like a little, those little mini documentaries they do, they're like an hour long. There's one that just got put out this month about public libraries. So if you have PBS Passport or just look for it on KERA. I think a lot of the PBS stuff ends up on Amazon too, if you have Amazon Prime. So I have not had a chance to watch it, but it looked very interesting.
A lot of the PBS will also end up on Canopy, which we offer.
Oh, well, there you go.
So keep an eye out for it there as well.
Yeah. So it looked interesting. It was kind of like the role, it seemed to be focused on the role the public library plays in modern day society. So-
This report, I think I have the link to the report there, but it has a lot of that too, how somehow the role is evolving to be much more community focused and much more the center of lots of services for the community, not just.
It's not just about books.
Yeah. it's not
Yeah.
just about it.
All right. Anything else? All right. And then it looks like we are on to patron feedback. There's not a lot, just 4 notes, and they're all happy.
Oh, the library card at 80.
For the first time, I know.
Uh-huh.
I guess they're just new here. Maybe it's
Yeah,
not their
maybe.
first library card. I sure hope not. Anyway, all very complimentary. Anybody hear anything or see anything on Facebook, your neighbor? No? Great.
Our kids, our librarians this week and went over all the stuff that's out for summer, our summer reading program, and they are so psyched. They even came back from going, and they're gonna have, and they're gonna have, and they're gonna have. I'm like, okay, good, and ours come on Tuesday, so they'll get to see and hear even more of that stuff. They're really psyched about it.
Wonderful.
Great. All right, that brings us to the library director's report.
Which printed slightly strange. I apologize for that. Let's see. So we have our regular stats. Those are doing well, keeping on track. But I put some photos on here for you guys to see what the Moroccan tea looked like. It was very well done event. Thank Clarissa for organizing that. And then we had the craft night for the adults was a fairy garden, which also had a very high attendance. So we're very proud of those. A couple of big highlights were we have a new computer system for all of our patron computers. So if a visitor comes in and needs to use one of the computers, they can now go to the kiosk and it will print them a visitor pass.
Oh,
It has also created a new print release system part that is very simplified compared to what it was. It was a 10-step process to print a page and all of that. This system makes it a 2-step process. Nice. And it also does not require staff intervention for them to be able to print. It's all through that kiosk. It will, in the near future, also allow for mobile printing so that you'll be able to print from your cell phones or from home. You'll be able to send something to the printer here and come and pick it up at the kiosks.
oh, wow.
So we are working on getting that configured. It should be live in the next week or so.
That's really cool.
I
So
like the statistic that the things checked out is more than the visitors, so it means people are checking out more than just,
Oh,
it's like
absolutely.
everybody at least takes home one, the visitors are taking out something, and
absolutely, yes. So on Friday, the 31st of May will be our summer reading kickoff. We are bringing back the foam bubble truck
Nice.
and having a party for that outside to kick us off. Fingers crossed for good weather, so we
Mhm.
don't have to reschedule that. The following week, June 4th, is when our wonderful Wednesday performers return, as you mentioned. And then that'll go through the 23rd of July. So, couple of other new programs is Rachel has started on the first Monday of every month doing open office hours for the Makerspace.
Oh,
So it's just an open time where people can bring their own project if they have questions or anything like that, in addition to her certification courses and projects.
You guys signed up to volunteer.
Awesome. One of the other things she's doing in conjunction with that is like right up here on our staff desk. She has a monthly maker craft that people can come and do on their own. She has instructions. Go check out the equipment. Here's what you need to do it, and here's how to do it.
oh, that's cool.
And that's been doing very nicely. And then Rachel and Taylor, our young adult librarian, have been working together to start the Teen Science Cafe, and actually received a stipend or grant to host the STEM Fest coming up
Thursday. That was
today.
Today.
It was today. It was an hour ago. But it was to host a virtual and hands-on combined program for a STEM event for kids with professionals in the field. The last thing on my list is it is a new fiscal year for budget planning. Giving you an idea of some of the things that are on the list for next year, next fiscal year being October on. We are requesting funds for a second ESL instructor or for a additional class so that it can be done perhaps on a Saturday so that we can get additional people who can attend. We are asking for funding for a new copier, one that is color so that we can offer color and black and white prints. Ours is getting a little dated and is no longer supported, so we are asking for funds for that. The other two big asks, one is to repair and add on some security cameras in the area, in the building. And then we have some donated funds, and while I do have a grant out for this, we're not sure of grant funding at the moment. So with the donated funds, what I have proposed that we do is a Braille enhanced, didn't put the word bilingual story walk in Rawhide Park.
That's cool.
So that would be a partnership with Parks and with Envision Dallas, the nonprofit that's in town that hires people from the blind community. And they are starting a school for the blind community's children. So those are some of the upcoming items for the library.
And here in the team room, please pass on the Kleenex was a big hit, because this time of the year, it is a inch small supply. And they, the pictures I think,
Yes.
like, what? 20 bucks Kleenex, and we're walking through it, and it was like, I need some. I need some. Okay, go down.
Those pictures had a very good response on our Facebook page. We
Good.
shared that.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, they were just like, and they were like, the teenagers did it. I was like, yeah. So it was, they were very impressed.
Wonderful.
Thanks
Sure
for
to share that.
just do that.
Yes.
All right. Next item. If anybody has any questions for Heather.
The new printing system,
Yes.
how is it protected against accidental printing of large documents?
So when you send an item to the printer and you walk up to the kiosk and you put in your library card number, it will show you what you want to print on the screen, and it's going to tell you how many pages it is. And then it's actually going to ask for payment before it prints. And you can
Have
pay.
you
to
accidentally
the
printed
system.
a large document at the library, Paul?
Not at the library, one of the first computer programs I wrote at Rensselaer, I guess that would have been. On the mainframe, generated a pile of paper about 4 inches tall. And I used that for scratch paper for all the rest of the
Um,
error.
And we do get students who will come in and print a textbook or things like that. And it might be 600 pages, but at 10 cents a page, they learn better with the printed version, and you can't always buy them in print anymore.
Yeah.
So they will come here because they don't have a printer and print it off. But it does ask for verification. This is what you want to print. This is what it's going to look like. This is how much it's going to cost. And then they pay the machine.
All right, so we're on to receive an update from board members on programs, events, or facilities attended in the City of Farmers Branch.
Well, I'll start out and you chime in. We kind of have assignments we're given at that, and what they're trying to do is evaluate the effectiveness of programming and the big, they listed for us all the even small programs, like some of the library programs, they had them rock and tea, they had, they had one that had all the smaller ones and the things like the father-daughter dance, that were
It was
huge.
Santa that had huge ones.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
but then they were looking at our input on some of the bigger ones, which if I can think in sequence, I didn't bring that sheet, but coming up like Veterans Day, the 4th of July, the things around Halloween, Day of the Dead, the park, the global that just
Yeah.
happened, that big global one, the multicultural one, and the Christmas one. So those great big community-wide events. We had an assignment about what do we want to keep, what do we want to take away, but that was like one of them, amenities to add, amenities to take away. So we could do a little bit of input from y'all tonight if you have feelings about that. The other was if you propose a new event, you would have to talk about the benefits, but also part 3 was like the security that would be necessary, the additional costs for crowd control and management, and, safety for walking to and from the event, all kinds of things like that. So, what I did, and then we're gonna come back to it and more people will have ideas. The homework assignment was 1, evaluating current events, and proposing a new, and then event considerations. But I did throw in a few things that were like co-opting other city entities into event, like for Veterans Day, which is coming up. I talked about, well, maybe the library could have a book display of some of the recent places where veterans have served, and with, or the different wars, and both a few kid ones and a few, and then the historical part could find some local veterans who had actually served in different military efforts that we've had, the Gulf War, all of the war, and have them there to tell stories and whatever. So I suggested a few things that were like co-op events, not expansions, but not extremely costly, but it would impact, it would impact the library if we decided to do an in on it.
I think you were saying it was a good idea because there's a case of not making things so isolated, the library is celebrating X but maybe it could be that, it's all throughout all the areas. So no matter where you're going, you're seeing the same.
Not that the library would go to the Veterans Day
Yeah.
celebration, but that there would be something
There'd be something in
at the library about Veterans Day.
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be more simultaneous, and the historical could have a series of talks at their venue from different veterans, that kind of thing.
And even artifacts, like they could have old uniforms and things like that, just kind of make it, not so isolated that it's just parks doing it or just historical. They can.
Or just the singers at
Yeah,
the branch connection. Yeah.
It's more of a, connect the different
Connect
agencies, get connected.
the different boards, involve the different boards. And some might appeal. The other, I guess, big picture thing we talked about is the lack of consideration for families, and there's a lot of kid events, young children, kid events, a lot of older people events, But my neighborhood, I mentioned, is like thirties, forties, fifties. Some have kids, some don't. And that group, they may not be targeting and they need to because it's turning over into younger families and younger, we used to call ourselves dinks. Double income, no kids. And there's several of those families in my neighborhood too. And they're all like into fitness and into things. One of the girls brought up from the arts and culture, I think, brought up, we have dances at the senior center, but just dances
For
for the
everybody.
younger, for everybody.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go down.
You have like the
Greenville Avenue.
father-daughter dance,
Yeah.
or you have the.
Yeah, you have one end or
the
the other,
other.
but the
Yeah, there's
middle's
not a lot in the
little bit
middle.
being left out.
Yeah.
And one of the amenities that they talked about was that group kind of likes alcohol to be there. So it would have to be someplace where we could serve it.
Yeah.
And then just other things that age group likes, like I know y'all are doing a game night, but like they like board games. My nephews are all into board games and they're into Trivial Pursuit and they're into, but they probably would want a beer wine option, which the library might not be able to do. So they talk about adding those to the global event, adding some tents that are adult game.
Right. Yeah. Because not everyone wants to cram into the little spinny car that goes in a circle.
You're right. That they have a lot for kids and they have, a lot going on at the senior center. But so if y'all have any ideas about improvements, ones that we should maybe do away with, because they really didn't want us to do new ones, that we didn't take an old one away because of budgetary concerns.
Right.
And just volunteers and staffing extra.
Yeah, and volunteering and staffing and everything is a consideration, but that's kind of what they're fishing for, is what's missing in the audience that we're reaching out to, and what can we safely and not too expensively do to augment the existing. So
I thought another thing I like is they did some explanation, because like the get and drive, music and stuff,
Yeah.
like, why is that not happening? Well, because of the construction's going on, we can't actually do it. But I don't know if everybody knows that. They just think, okay, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we get it out? And, it's like, maybe like 2 years away. And so it's like, okay, and it was like, do we want to do a countdown? But like, that's a good idea, but let's wait till it's closer before you count down. But let people know it's like, it's still around, but it just can't be right now because of X, Y, Z. Like the ice rink will come back, but there again with the construction, they can't have it where it was because it needs to be close to the Star Center because they maintain it and run it. So we don't want to like put it far away and say, because then they couldn't take care of it. Someone said, well, we could put it by the historical park. And they're like, yeah, but if somebody wants to have a wedding and there's an ice skating rink in front of it,
Yeah.
well, it's too far for the star people. to
Right,
be able to-
exactly.
That's
So, but-
special equipment.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like, I don't think people always understand. They're thinking, oh, well, they just got rid of it. No, but yeah. So how can we get that kind of information out? It's like, why, we've always done this. Why isn't it there?
They also talked about they're going to try to get a coordinated calendar, because I think they weren't really aware of some of the things the library was doing. Because like in the first meeting, we talked mostly about the global event that had just happened, and that committee was there. And they didn't even know about the Moroccan tea, that you were doing something for East Asian, for celebrating that
Yeah.
group. And there were some representatives from that group there. And so they were, but I think sometimes so they're working on a coordinated calendar so you can see across the board a little bit more what things that are smaller events that would appeal to.
Maybe they, like, if you don't, like my friends that were here, like I was like, yeah, they were checking out seeds. Yeah, but you can check out pickleball too. It's like, if they don't know to go to the library website, they may not know what's going on in the library. If it's something like citywide, like a whole calendar that you could go, oh, let's see what's, so that's what they're thinking of trying to create.
Anyway, if y'all come up with ideas, we have homework to do before the next meeting to bring in ideas for events.
And we won't say, Kristen said we need to do this.
Well, I know we generally have programs here 5 days a week, if not 7 days a week. And I think we do have almost a third of our programs are for the age group you're saying
Right,
we're kind of missing, but does everyone in the city know that we're offering those? They're for the
Right.
free of
That's
charge.
That was some of my concern, because I brought up several, like they knew
That
about
adult
the
craft night every
Lunar,
month.
they knew about the
Yes.
Lunar New Year thing, but not everybody knew.
Right.
You know, so, it's some of that cross pollination between, I think it's helpful to have people from all the different boards on there, because they're hearing about things that.
I think with the library, people still think of it as a library like we grew up with, it's just books.
Mhm.
Unless you realize that it's not, and you're not even gonna think, oh, I want to learn about, a tea party, or like for a while they're doing how to brew craft beers and stuff like that. You wouldn't normally think that way for the library, so that's why I said, how do we,
Right.
make that connection from different things.
Well, yeah, because there's a film club here. There's Dungeon and Dragons for kids and adults. There's
Right.
Like
there's Legos, and
the tea, yeah.
you have this room full of stuff that's all ages. Well, I mean, 11 and up, but
Mhm.
for the, there's lots of events for all kinds of ages. Yeah. I just don't know how well, and that's what we've talked about before, is how do we market and publicize some of those things better?
And I know we were laughing about field days earlier. All those families in my neighborhood are like fitness freaks. There's like, you can tell the guys are bodybuilders and they run and I said, well, maybe we could have a intergenerational Olympic field day at the new sports thing.
Yeah.
And have like wheelchair races and walker races. And, some little kid things that were fun, and then for these real athletic people, some really big, but there's liability issues with that big time.
Yeah.
So, all my ideas probably had safety and liability.
Not if you sign a waiver.
And you do it over there next to the fire station, so they're all. Cut down on response time.
But anyway, if y'all have ideas, though, contact one of us.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to test them.
Make our homework easier.
The study group.
Yeah.
All right. If there's nothing else on that, then we're on the last item. Any agenda items for future meetings?
Budget's already been brought up.
Mhm.
Nothing in particular at the moment. Okay.
So Heather,
Yes.
the budget consideration is for the library specifically, not for fine free. Is that correct?
That is just the budget we are presenting to, Robert.
Are you wanting
for
an
overview.
update on the fine free?
I just wanted to, because we had talked about it being in like the next year calendar, so I didn't know if
Yeah,
that was a
what's
part of
in-
that.
Status.
Because I think we said in October is when the next budget goes into effect, if I'm.
Yes.
So and we've already motioned and like kind of approved that.
Yes.
So,
You've already recommended that, and Robert is aware, and that's something
He's working on
gonna have to.
what is the best way to present that information to them? Like, is it as part of the budget, or is it like a special consideration type thing, or like, hey, here's a cool idea? I forget what his exact words were, but he has a path, he has a plan.
A packet though, to just provide that packet so that they can see what we're requesting for your, usually with the budget, so.
I
it's like
think, I
usually
think
request.
it is part of the budget
Mhm.
discussion, just to show them like, hey, here's how much money actually comes in from the fines, not the fees, not like the replacement because you broke it, but like the fines is really not that much. It's
Yeah.
not going to impact the budget all that much.
is it the same one that?
And it's this, yeah, it's that same presentation, that's the negatives of, here's all the ways that having fines actually hurts
Yeah.
residents, right?
Yeah.
Then the money the city reaps from them, like the cost, the ROI is not there.
Cause
So-
that's kind of a separate entity and process that we're looking at.
Yes, it's kind of like, an income versus expenditures.
Okay.
Revenue versus expenditures.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right now, they're just talking about, here's all the things we'd like to buy.
Right.
Some special considerations.
Right.
All right. Oops. Anything else?
Well, we need to schedule.
Yes, the next meeting. So June, I feel like we scheduled the one for June.
Yes.
June 12th. So we're June 12th. We'll skip July. As is kind of the norm everywhere in the city except for City Hall. So then, if you wanted to go ahead and set August, we could. It should be the 14th.
That's the
Would be
same
the
week.
second Tuesday or second Thursday, I mean.
Is that the same week school goes
It
back?
is the same week that my school goes back.
Ours goes back on the 12th, but if it's a Thursday, we'll all be in the swing. We'll be like, yes,
Yeah.
our day.
Yeah, I don't know that it'll be. I don't know that it'll make that big of a difference, I guess is what I'm saying.
You don't know what's going on. Yeah, 'cause they'll help us find people.
Yes. It's probably better for it to be August 14th than August 7th.
Better for staff.
Yeah,
That gives us a chance to get all of our statistics in.
yeah, so. I say, is everyone good with August 14th?
Right now, yeah.
Right now, yeah.
I'm trying to stop. Like,
Well, so you think you said, I think it said, summer,
Not summer, I'm sorry,
summer
Summer
reading
reading?
was like the 20.
July 23rd will be our last, Wednesday event. We'll still have our regularly scheduled events. And I believe that the second Saturday in August
The
will
ninth.
be our,
Celebration.
event at the Frog Pond with the party.
The party for, oh, if you check off if you got, so maybe, is it the
If
same
you
kind of badge?
participated in your
Yeah.
summer reading.
I didn't want to add stress to the staff. That it was like that day you were having the celebration and then surprise, let's have a meeting.
No, we're good.
Okay. So our next meetings are June 12th. Take a vacation in July. And then August 14th. All right, anything else?
I'm sorry, you said June 12th and August
14th.
14th.
2 days before my boys turn 13. I know. Blast. All right. Anything else? No? All right, then I guess it is time to
Move to adjourn.
adjourn, yes.
I'll take it.
All right, Paul moves. Lee seconds. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, we are adjourned at 6:39.
We've got movers and the seconders.
Okay, give me just a moment to stop that recording.